Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life podcast, the podcast for women who want it all: health, wealth, freedom, authenticity, love, beauty, all of the hidden gems just waiting to be uncovered. This is the podcast for women who are ready to discover their inner creatrix, to discover their inner manifester, and who want to find the ecstatic in every day. Hello, beautifuls, and welcome back to Ecstatic Life. Today, I am here for a solo episode, and I would like to talk about letting go of expectations and resentment in your romantic relationships. And so this is something that is very raw and vulnerable for me to talk about, honestly, because this is something that I have struggled with a lot in my marriage. I would say I spent a decade in very, very strong, active resentment over just so many things. And that's just in this current marriage that I'm in. And I'm also seeing this so much with women that I work with, friends of mine, just women that I speak with on the internet and everything. It just seems to be so pervasive that so many of us are just living with this day-to-day disappointment and resentment. And it's just kind of always brewing under the surface that, we're just disappointed in our men. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of men are really disappointing right now. But I have to say that men being disappointing is a product of society and the way that our Western society has brought men up. And I'm not going to really get too deep into that in this podcast, but we have definitely been conditioned in a certain way for the last almost 100 years now. And so, yes, there is a problem with men in general, but that's not something we can control. We can only control our actions, our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, and not the way our partners behave. So like I said, have been seeing this so much around me. And, if you just look at the divorce rate, for instance, I think it's 60% of marriages end in divorce. First marriages, I think it's 70% for second marriages, and it goes up and up and up the more times you've been married. And I just see it all over that people are like, oh, just walk away, just walk away, just walk away. It's the advice given. There's a lot of women who are feeling like a single married mom. That's a term that I'm seeing all over the place. Women are feeling like they are doing the lion's share of everything, that they're raising the kids and that they're working and that they're having to actually raise their husbands as well. And the advice that I see given is to just walk away, that it's easier to be single than to be a quote unquote single married mom. And so I have created a workshop around this topic, and I will be introducing information about that at the end. But I feel like this is a topic that so needs to be addressed right now. So if you are struggling with feeling like you are lacking support in your relationship, you're not having your expectations met, you're feeling resentful of your male partner all the time, and maybe even you're feeling on the verge of divorce and just ready to burn it all down and walk away, then please take the 30 minutes to listen to this podcast, because I'm going to give you some reframes and some somatic tools that have helped me enormously, literally brought me back from the edge of divorce and from feeling so miserable, like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and literally, yes, like a single married mom. Like everything was on me, and so much resentment, so much resentment. And by adopting these new ways of thinking and being and these practices, I have really turned it around the last few years. And, it's liberating. It is so, so liberating. So if you're there, mama, I see you. Take a listen, and I'm going to give you some really, really good tools that are going to help lift you up out of this. So here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is what expectations are really costing you. So there is generally a load of invisible expectations that we are carrying around of our partners, and they are breeding resentment. This is a lot of shoulds usually. Like, he should notice how tired I am. He should want to help more. He should be more involved. He should see that the laundry needs done. And this load of shoulds that we're carrying around is just breeding that resentment. And generally, these are things that we're not expressing in a way that can be heard. So when we are expressing them, a lot of times this is coming out in passive aggressive ways, or we're saying underhanded comments, or we keep it inside until we just, explode and yell about it or have a meltdown about it. And this was definitely something that I struggled with a lot. And I definitely did the passive aggressive thing, like with the laundry, like he leaves his dirty laundry on the floor. And so what do? I pick it up and I set it like in his clean laundry area in a very obnoxious way. Or, I stopped doing his laundry for a while. I'm like, well, if you can't pick it up and put it in the basket, then I'm just not going to do it. And I would leave it there until it got to the point where he had no clean clothes left, or, these kinds of things. Rather than addressing the problem head on, I would wait until I got super angry, and then I'd be like, what the hell? Like, are you a child that I have to pick up after? And so these kinds of things, they don't just breed resentment in you, but they also breed resentment in your partner as well, because then he is feeling like he is being treated like a child and talked down to. And a lot of times we have this belief that, like, well, he should be a grown-ass man and he should be acting like a partner. And if he's not, then he's going to get treated like a kid. But I'll just ask you, what is that doing for your relationship? What is that doing for the peace in your household or for the love that you have between you and your partner? Nothing. It's a breeding resentment. So I have a little exercise that I invite you to do for this. And that is to write down all of your current unmet expectations. Go ahead, get it all on paper. He should be taking care of the kids more. He should be making dinners more. He should, all of these expectations that you're carrying around, all the shoulds, get them down on paper. And so then I want you to, for each one, take a look at it and analyze it. And then right next to it, if it is something that you want to keep, modify, or release. So your keep category are the ones that are reasonable expectations. And this is something that you can have a calm, direct conversation about. So he should be putting his laundry in the laundry basket and not putting his dirty clothes on the bathroom floor. That is reasonable. And so that would go in the keep for me. And that would be something that I would want to have a conversation, a detached, calm conversation, not when I'm angry, at a scheduled time when both of us can talk reasonably with each other. And then your modify category. So those are your unreasonable expectations that need to maybe be adjusted to fit reality. So he should make romantic plans for us on a regular basis. Well, that's not my husband. That is not in his personality at all. And while that is something that I would love and would make me feel good, that expectation is way out of bounds for my current relationship. So that one I've had to modify and adjust to reality. If I have a plan that I would like him to participate in, then I can speak to him about said plan. But the expectation that he will come up with these ideas on his own does not fit in reality. So the third category, release. So these are the ones that you want to work on yourself, not bring to him, but work on yourself to let go of. So this is the category of things that are costing you more than it's worth. And these are likely the things that you have had many conversations about and that are really bad sticking points in your relationship. So possibly these are things that are not going to be resolved right now and should be released and that you should find peace with. Because the truth is, the more you cling to how these things should be, the more it's going to hurt. And the more you can release what's not serving you, the more space you're going to create for peace. And honestly, maybe even change. So maybe by dropping some things, you will actually open up space in your relationship for him to surprise you. So next I want to talk about setting energetic boundaries and holding your boundaries. And this is something that I see a lot of us struggle with. I know a lot of women who really feel like their boundaries get stepped all over, like they are the doormat, or like they're reduced to being like the cleaning lady or the slave, or the, all these words that we use about the way we're treated in our own homes. But part of that is having leaky boundaries, having infirm boundaries. And so you have to set those boundaries and you have to be strong in those boundaries. So I will go back to the laundry example because apparently laundry is a big deal in my house. There are 7 of us, and so there's a lot of laundry. So one of these things for me was the laundry being on the floor and the laundry being done and put away. This is something that can really, take over my life. If it's ignored for a few days, then there's like 5 backed up loads of laundry and laundry's everywhere. And yeah, it becomes total chaos. So one of my big boundaries was that I needed him to make sure that the clothes got into the hamper so that I could do them. And then once they were washed and folded, that he put his stuff away. And when he consistently could not meet that expectation, and we had talked about it in calm ways, I decided that I would absolve myself from his laundry. And so that was an energetic boundary that I had to put up. And I had to say, you know what? If you can't be responsible for helping me with the flow of the laundry, I can't be responsible for doing your laundry. And so that was a boundary I had to set up and had to be firm in. And there are ways that you can say this that is not triggering, that doesn't start a fight. I need XYZ. If you can't do it, I will handle it another way. It's really taking the emotional attachment away from it. And this doesn't mean to numb out and avoid feelings, but not getting so overly into needing a certain outcome, because you can't guarantee that he is going to be able to meet that outcome. Another thing that you can say, that doesn't work for me. I'll make other arrangements. So So this is essentially taking the ball out of his court and putting it back in your own, putting the power back in your hands to figure out solutions for that situation. And it's important to remember that boundaries aren't to push people away. So it's about being more steady and more firm and more comfortable in yourself. It's not an act of punishment, and it's not something that is meant to be used against someone. It is something that you create to hold stability and strength in yourself and around your needs and your care for yourself. And the same goes with our kids too. So I know a lot of us have tendencies to allow our children to push our boundaries. And I used to be this way with like touch boundaries, kids crawling all over me and on me constantly. And even when I wasn't liking it, I would just kind of grit my teeth and bear it because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. And so I have learned to be more boundaried in my personal space too. And that is not a negative thing. That is not something that is against someone else. Again, it's to protect you, whether this is a physical boundary in your personal space, or this is a boundary in your home, or a boundary around your emotions, the way that you're spoken to, or the kind of interaction that you are having with someone. So, firm boundaries are very, very important. Another thing that I see that breeds a lot of resentment is the expectation that our partners should be giving us everything. We have really segmented ourselves down into these nuclear family units, and I don't think that that necessarily works for human beings. I don't think that's a natural way for humans to live. I believe that we are tribal beings and that we belong in a community. And so the way that we have really separated down in our individualistic society into these little nuclear family units is not working for women, because women need community, women need sisterhood, women need their mamas and grandmas and aunties around them supporting them. We need a village. And so now what's happening is we're taking that need of village and we're really dumping it on our husbands and expecting them to meet all of our socio-emotional needs. And they can't. They're not wired to. They're not designed to. Men don't understand the range of emotional response that we have about social situations because they're not wired that way. Women are wired for community, and we are super, super sensitive and in tune with facial expressions and social cues because that is safety, security, genetically, we are programmed for that kind of connection. And so when we are expecting our husbands to meet all of those roles because we have been so segmented off and so stripped of our tribe, then we are going to be met with disappointment on a daily basis. So I invite you to look around you and to see where you can get your needs met without expecting your husband to meet them. So again, get out a piece of paper, jot down who in your life can support you. Do you have a mom's group, a friend circle, colleagues at work, family members, aunts, sisters, cousins, your best friends, women you went to high school with or college with? Like, who do you know that is around you? It doesn't have to even be physically. This can be people that you reach out to on the phone or on Zoom. And just start identifying some of these support people. So who in your life supports you without trying to fix you? Because we all know when we go to our husbands for support, they generally want to fix something. And it is monumentally frustrating when all we want is to be heard. So, who can you go to that is not judgmental? Who can you go to that sees you clearly and can give you feedback or can be a listening ear? So, identify those people in your life. Who can help you grow? Who is your support team, your cheerleader team? Identify these people in your life, write them down, and see how you can get the needs that you are putting on your husband met through these other people. And then I also invite you to try to grow your circle, to try to grow into a sisterhood circle. I just created an online sisterhood circle for other women entrepreneurs that I know, and we are coming together and supporting each other. And this has been such a great outlet to have. And it's a virtual community, but I've had in-person communities that I've done, baby wearing groups, breastfeeding groups, throughout the years. And these circles of women have been so monumentally important in my life. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be looking to your spouse for certain types of support, but really think about, identify what types of support is he capable, willing, wired to give you, and what can you reach to your wider circle for when you need those kinds of connections. Another thing that can be super helpful when you are feeling resentment is to check in with yourself and to see what is causing the resentment, what is underlying it, what really is at its core. And so this is another written practice that you can do. So the next time you catch yourself feeling resentful about something, just pause, take a breath, and check in, and ask yourself, what is the hidden expectation underneath this resentment? So let's go back to the laundry example. I walk in and I see a wet, sopping towel on my bed, getting the comforter wet. And a huge, just roiling of resentment bubbles up inside of me. The how dare he kind. So pause, breathe, notice you're feeling resentful. And even notice where are you feeling resentful? Where in your body are you feeling the resentment? Is it heat coming up your chest or tightness in your shoulders? And so breathe into it. And then when your blood pressure's down and you've calmed down for a second, ask yourself, what is the unmet expectation? What is the unmet need underneath that resentment? And so for this example, the expectation is that he will take care of his laundry. He will take care of the dirty clothes that he makes, right? The expectation is that he will care for this house, for our property. And then go a layer deeper. What is the unmet need underneath that? Well, I need less burden on myself. I need to be seen. And like I said before, feeling like the maid or feeling like the slave in your house, I need to be seen as an equal. So once you've identified those needs, what can you give yourself? Not expecting anything from the other party. How can you release that resentment and choose peace? How can you shift your energy into something you can control? You can recognize that need. You can recognize that hurt. And then you can choose from that place of strength how you want to deal with that situation. Maybe that's taking care of it yourself. Maybe that's expressing that a boundary has been crossed. Maybe that's going to your partner with your vulnerable needs and expressing how you really feel about that situation vulnerably. When I see that wet towel on my comforter, I feel really hurt because that's making this extra work for me to have to do. And then that's taking more time away from me enjoying things. I would truly desire if everyone in this house could start picking up their own laundry. It would make my life so much more peaceful. And so it's also not just these communication tools that can help to release this resentment or to get out of the expectation mode. If you have been watching my podcasts, you have no doubt been seeing me using my copper water bottle. I literally use this thing every day and I take it everywhere with me. Not only does it keep my water clean and tasting delicious, but it imparts health benefits and is another one of my daily habits that I truly feel has contributed so much to my health and living my most ecstatic life. Since I was already advertising their bottle every week, I reached out to Copper Water and asked them to offer a discount code for my Ecstatic Life listeners. So, if you're interested in learning about the benefits of drinking from a copper vessel, head over to copperwater.com/Nicole Goff and use the coupon code Nicole Goff at checkout for 5% off of your order if you decide to purchase one. Now, back to Ecstatic Life. There's also somatic work that we can do on our own that will help for us to stay more grounded, more calm, more peaceful, more alive in our own bodies, more happy with ourselves. And these kinds of somatic practices can really help to shift your energy on a day-to-day basis. Because I think part of the resentment that we experience is the expectation for being loved and for being filled up by our partners, when really we need to be filling our own cups. We need to be filling ourselves up. And so we might have a tendency to be giving to our children and giving to our families, giving to our partners, giving to our communities without giving to ourselves. And so a lot of times then there's this void and we expect our husbands to fill it, but likely they're not equipped to. And this is a harsh truth. But if you're not loving yourself, it is really hard for someone else to love you. If you're not showing up for yourself, it is really difficult for someone else to show up for you. And so a lot of this work starts with this foundation of healing our own wounds, of becoming embodied, of getting back in touch with our bodies and getting back in touch with our emotions and our needs and our desires and beginning to fulfill those for ourselves. So some of the practices that I use for this, and I've talked about this in a lot of other podcasts and blogs, and I talk about this constantly on my social media, but my self-care habits that I have created have really shifted my perspective so much. I mean, to reclaim your power in this area is so important. The shift from being a victim to being in the victimhood mentality to feeling empowered in your daily life to care for yourself and to be okay no matter what is such a huge reframe. It is such a game changer. And so the more I've implemented these practices, the more I have become radically selfish, as my new Instagram tagline says, the more I have felt whole, and the less I have had expectations and resentment towards my partner, because I've realized that a lot of these needs I have been able to fulfill for myself. A lot of the things that I was missing, that I was hoping to have filled by his unconditional love, have actually been pieces of me that I needed to recollect, that I needed to heal. Things where I had self-worth issues, things where I had traumas or leaky energies, things that I needed to work on myself. And no amount of love from another person is ever going to heal those wounds. So one of the first things that I got into is embodiment. And so coming home to your body. How connected with your body are you? And this can start with a body scan. So a body scan, closing your eyes, and do this right now. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths, feel into your body, and just see, what is your body asking for? Do you have tension between your shoulder blades? Are your hips feeling tight? What does your body want? What is it begging for? And then using intuitive movement practice or even self-massage, giving your body what she wants and needs. So feeling some tension in my shoulders right now. How can I sway or move or open up that will release that tension? Or can I give myself a shoulder rub? Getting in touch with your body and her needs and then providing is such life-changing work. I mean, how many of us are denying ourselves and waiting for someone to come and save us? How many of us are disconnected from our body and don't even know what you're feeling? How many of us are numbing out and disassociating from our bodies? And so to come home back inside your body, back into feeling into your physical needs, and then giving that to yourself is such good medicine. And so in doing this, maybe you can try to identify also, what are you holding on to that's not yours? What are you holding on to that can be released? What kind of resentment and expectations are living in your body? And so that resentment that I was feeling towards my husband so often, a lot of times would live in my jaw. And I would clench my jaw, clench my teeth, my jaw would get tight, which radiated down my neck. And a lot of times I would end up with tension headaches because I was so clenched up from holding back my needs, holding back the words that I wanted to say, maybe holding back the anger, holding back the resentment. All these unexpressed needs and all of this resentment actually caused physical pain in my body. On a regular basis too. I was getting stress headaches very often. And so part of this, identifying what's going on in your body, if you're noticing these kinds of things, like the knot in the back of my neck is from my unmet needs, from shouldering all the responsibility of the family and not unburdening myself by delegating some of these tasks that I don't need to be doing. Let's go back to the laundry example. The knot in the back of my neck, as I'm doing my somatic practice, as I'm tuning into myself, I am understanding that tension that I am holding there between my shoulder blades and in the back of my neck, that is from shouldering this heavy responsibility of being totally responsible for everyone's clean clothes in the house. And so how can I unburden myself from that? Well, setting boundaries, asking for support, speaking clearly, and then also, how can I release that tension in my body? So not just in a practical way, but actually in a somatic practice. So shake it off. Can you shake it off? Just literally shake your body. Or can you dance it out? Self-massage, intuitive movement. Vocalization is another way to release. Can you release through a scream or a roar, or maybe something even more intense, punching pillows or going for a run? How can you actually physically release this weight, this burden of expectation from your body. And actually, once you do physically release, it's better to have those conversations about support once you have let go of some of that tension, once you have come back into your body and you're feeling more grounded. So these somatic practices can definitely get you into a more grounded, steady space so that you can have a calm conversation without the blame and the shame and the projection and all of these things that cause fights, that make the problems worse and not better. Another thing that can really help to flip the script, to reframe these expectations, is to look internally and see these frustrations as mirrors, and to see what is it reflecting that you may really need from yourself. So where are you not showing up for yourself? And this can be in boundaries. This can be in self-care. This can be in structure and time management. But to really use these as an opportunity to self-reflect. Our partnerships always act as mirrors. And so when we are holding these resentments and these expectations, it can be really helpful to turn it around and see, where am I not showing up for myself? Where could I better husband myself? And so again, getting quiet, going internal, doing your body scan, doing some intuitive movement, and then really looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing, where can I show up better for me before I look to someone outside to fulfill these needs? And again, this might look like stronger boundaries. So back to the laundry. If I am just picking up all the dirty laundry and I'm feeling totally resentful about it, and I'm washing it and I'm folding it and I'm putting it away, and the whole time I'm feeling totally resentful about this chore and about what I believe is someone else taking advantage of me by not helping out and doing their part. But I'm not speaking up. I'm not voicing this in a way that can be heard. And this is a really, really key distinction, because if you're voicing it in passive aggressive ways or aggressive ways, if you're saying, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why can't you just put that towel into the laundry bin? It's not very likely that your partner is going to respond in the way that you're hoping, because they're going to shut down, they're going to stonewall, they're going to get resentful. Like, that type of communication isn't going to be heard very well. So, or maybe you're just not saying anything. Maybe you are just holding it all in, holding it like I was saying I did, in my jaw, in that tension, holding it inside. And so in doing that, I am self-abandoning. I am not having boundaries. I am not speaking my truth. I am not caretaking myself. And the expectation is that he should know. But like I said at the beginning, where does that get us? A whole load of shoulds that we're carrying around, that are weighing us down, that are hurting us. These expectations and this resentment, ultimately, it's hurting you. It's hurting yourself. Yes, it's hurting the marriage. It's hurting your family, but it's hurting you. And not just mentally and emotionally, but physically as well. Because as I said, we're holding these negative feelings in our bodies. And they can manifest not just as tension in your jaw and headaches, but even worse things, diseases, cancer. If you hold enough negative emotion in a body part for long enough, it will turn into a disease. Or it could manifest as a break, as a fracture, as a trauma. So it's really important to identify, where can you show up better for yourself? Focus on your self-care. Where can you be more loving and attuned and present and caretaking for yourself? And once you start showing up for yourself in this way, once you start self-husbanding and caretaking yourself, it is empowering. And a next step for this is to remember your passion. Remember who the fuck you are. Remember your eros and the things that make you feel alive, and get back in touch with those deep passions and longings and desires and beauty and everything else that you have suppressed, everything else that has been buried under this resentment. And so to do this, I like to literally adorn myself, to reconnect with my pleasure by creating sacred self-care rituals around my beauty and my pleasure, like bubble baths and beautifully scented, essential oil scented candles and perfumes and lotions and clothes that are soft and silky and facial massage and self-massage, and really committing to choosing myself. Almost like dating yourself, or even going back to like when you were single and how you cared for yourself. Taking that time to really just indulge. And this can be such a powerful shift, such a powerful reframe. So getting out of that martyrdom and really getting into a queenly feeling about yourself. This form of radical self-care, of radical self-reclamation, can be such a powerful shift to get out of resentment with your husband, because it isn't for him. This isn't a self-care ritual and an adornment ritual because you want to make yourself look sexy and pleasing to him. This is deep adoration of yourself. So this practice is to be taken up as a ritual of self-love. And so it really helps also to look in the mirror and to make I am statements during this too. Like, I am beautiful, I am radiant, I am a queen, whatever feels right to you. And commit to choosing yourself daily. Commit to showing up for yourself daily. And this can have such a huge shift in how you show up as a partner. It's a lot harder to feel resentful about what you're not getting when you are treating yourself like a queen. You can want better without needing him to give it to you. You can reclaim yourself right now, no permission needed, no other party's action required. You can just come home to you and start showing up for yourself. And this will radically shift your marriage, I promise you. Because that resentment is a slippery slope. It is a downward spiral. It is digging yourself further and further and further into the mud. And it's not benefiting you in any way. Like I said, that resentment is causing you disease. And it is something that you can drop. Like literally, you can just drop it and walk away. And yes, it takes practice. And yes, it takes time. But you can commit today to letting it go and to showing up for yourself, not waiting for him to change, changing yourself. And most likely your husband is a decent person and will respond to these changes in a positive way. I know for me, once I started putting up boundaries and taking care of myself and showing up as a more radiant, loving version of myself, my husband's attitude radically shifted, and not from me getting down on him. That did the opposite. When I nagged and complained and browbeat, he pulled further away, did less, showed up less, was more of the selfish, immature version of him that I had grown to just not be able to stand. And when I totally disconnected from that behavior and I began just showing up for myself and doing what resonated and was aligned for me, speaking from my truth, being authentic, and putting my needs first, with strong boundaries around them, he started actually coming closer. He actually started wanting to be closer to me and to support me more and showed up more, which is this paradox. Because I had become someone who was more radiant and magnetizing, and I also became someone who could ask for my wants and my needs without it turning into a blame game and without the fact that those needs hadn't been met being made his fault. So, I want to leave you with a little mantra and see if you can gift it to yourself by saying it out loud now. I can want better for myself without expecting it from him. I can protect my energy without building walls. I can choose peace without giving up on my worth. And so, like I said, I have created a free 5-day self-led workshop around everything that I've been talking about here today. And if you are interested in participating in that, I would love to gift it to you. Either DM me on Instagram at Nicole Desiree Goff. That's NicoleDesireeGoff. Or shoot me an email at contact@NicoleGoffSpeaks.com and I will give you the link for that workshop. And if you want to go super deep with this, then I want to invite you to check out my Revive program, which includes feminine embodiment and nervous system healing, sacred boundary work, sensual reclamation, identity rebirth, communication tools, and so much more. And that is a one-on-one coaching container, and you can find out more about that at NicoleGoffSpeaks.com. or again on my Instagram page, which has all the links in the bio. And remember, this isn't about giving up on your husband or giving up on your marriage. This isn't about just passively letting it all go and not caring anymore. This is about refusing to give up on you. This is about reclaiming your power and your selfhood and your expression and your identity and your needs, and coming home to feeling like a sovereign human being. One who is not reliant on someone else to fulfill their needs. One who is not reliant on someone else's behavior to feel whole. So until next time, remember to love yourself, to care for yourself, and I love you, and I will talk soon. Bye. If you have been watching my podcasts, you have no doubt been seeing me using my copper water bottle. I literally use this thing every day and I take it everywhere with me. Not only does it keep my water clean and tasting delicious, but it imparts health benefits and is another one of my daily habits that I truly feel has contributed so much to my health and living my most ecstatic life. Since I was already advertising their bottle every week, I reached out to Copper Water and asked them to offer a discount code for my Ecstatic Life listeners. So if you're interested in learning about the benefits of drinking from a copper vessel, head over to copperwater.com/Nicole Goff and use the coupon code Nicole Goff at checkout for 5% off of your order if you decide to purchase one. Now back to Ecstatic Life.